Advent starts off not by thinking about the birth of Jesus. It doesn't actually look towards Christmas. It looks towards the second coming of Jesus.
Frank Ritchie, the Reverend. He joins us in the studio.
Can I just say that music is so unclergy-like?
Strolling down the middle of the aisle, yeah.
Versus Jake Paul.
Got the collar on. All right, so we're talking Advent Sunday, Frank. Tell us about Advent. And for someone like me, I do feel a little bit almost, I don't know if it's embarrassed, but I don't know. I didn't grow up in like a traditional, like an Anglican church or something like that, where those kind of church practices or the calendar and all that kind of stuff is really front and center and important and taught in that kind of way.
Yeah.
So hit me.
Well, that is embarrassing because we've probably talked about this every single year since I've been doing this with you.
I've never listened to you either, so it is embarrassing. Yeah. No, embarrassing is the word. Yeah.
If you think about Christmas and Easter, like those are the two big pillars of the Christian year. The birth of Jesus, the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. And in the church calendar, there have always been these big lead-in times. So some people might be familiar with Lent as the thing that leads into Easter, that helps prepare us for Easter. So Easter doesn't come and go in the blink of an eye. Advent is that for Christmas, so that we don't just get caught up in the consumerism and the stress of Christmas, and then Christmas comes with its gluttony and its quick opening of presents, and then it's gone in again the blink of a stressful eye. Advent is our way of leading into it, and it's been tradition for a very long time in liturgical churches. It has an evolution. We won't go into that evolution, but for those who are unfamiliar, Advent is the 4 Sundays before Christmas. And some people will be familiar with it because of the Advent calendar, where you open a window each day and you get to eat some chocolate.
That, yeah.
I'm a big fan of the one that you get a different little bottle of whiskey every day. I've never had it. I've never had it, but I'd like it to make its way into our household.
Please make sure your Advent whiskey starts after you've done your show with us.
But that doesn't reflect Advent. I still have no idea how those traditions of the chocolate came about, because it's got nothing to do with what Advent is. Advent across the 4 Sundays has themes: hope, peace, joy, love. Those are really nice, but there's something deeper going on with Advent as well. Advent starts off not by thinking about the birth of Jesus. It doesn't actually look towards Christmas. It looks towards the second coming of Jesus. The readings are based on the second coming of Jesus, the idea that the world will be made right sometime. And it starts by looking at what the world is like. The world is gritty, the world is harsh, the world is broken. We are broken. There is war, there is famine, there is poverty. And it should get us to this place where we realize, and again, if you track through church history, we can't save ourselves. And so there's this cry that wells up in the first couple of weeks of Easter: we need a Savior, God, help us. And we hope for and we long for the promise of everything being made right. Then as we track into the second half of Easter, we start to go, how can we trust that promise of God that everything will be made right? Like, is there something that's happened that would enable us to go, yes, God, we trust you? And so we start to look back through history, and we eventually land on this point where we go, actually, God has acted. God came to the world as one of us. In the womb of Mary, divinity, the creator of the universe, the one who holds the universe together, united with our human nature through Mary, and in doing so has saved us. God has acted. And so then the celebration starts to well up. And then we get to Christmas. And Christmas then is not this act of escapism. It's this celebration of God acting in the world, even though the world looks like it's worthy of despair so often. God has acted, so we get to celebrate. And that celebration then explodes on that day, but it continues for 12 days. The celebration of Christmas in the traditional calendar is 12 days. That's where you get that song, The 12 Days of Christmas.
And that starts on Christmas, right?
It starts on Christmas Day and it goes through till the 6th of January. And 6th of January is Epiphany. And Epiphany is recognised as a couple of things, but in the West it's recognised as the wise men visiting the baby Jesus. So these foreign cultures recognising Jesus as king. But that grittiness of Advent, for someone like myself who grew up in quite a hard childhood, Christmas never felt relevant. You know, the gift giving, the presents, the tinsel, the fake snow.
Yeah.
It just there were elements where I enjoyed it, but it never connected. It was the grittiness of Advent, seeing the world as it is, and then connecting Christmas as the celebration of God acting in the midst of that hard life that brought Christmas alive for me. It's Advent that helps make Christmas relevant for people who feel lonely, downtrodden, pushed out, rejected. It's Advent that makes Christmas real for them.
For someone who is like, man, this, maybe hasn't been exposed to this kind of stuff hugely through their experience with church, or maybe they have no experience with church, what's a way that people could try to engage with this in the lead up to Christmas? Like, it's kind of starting on Sunday with Advent Sunday.
Yeah.
Just for someone tuning in, what's a way that people could start to learn, put themselves into this or experience Advent?
Yeah, it's a good question. If your church doesn't do it at all, doesn't recognize it at all, there's nothing that goes on in your church, Google is your friend. Like jumping online and just researching Advent, finding the lectionary readings. If you search for Revised Common Lectionary, you'll find that there's a website that pops up that will give you, the first website that pops up will give you the readings for each Sunday of Advent. Diving into those readings for each Sunday of Advent that many churches around the world will be doing is a really great way to start living into and contemplating that arc of Advent that we just talked about. Just as a heads up too, I've got a big article coming out of my Substack for paid subscribers on Saturday explaining all of this.
Wait, are you assuming there's people listening that haven't subscribed to your Substack yet?
Well, looking at the numbers, I would imagine your ratings are far higher than the numbers that are paying for my Substack. So frankritchie.substack.com.
Well, you should check it out because there's a new thing he's got going. So if you do want to check that out, Wednesday coming out, Saturday, the day before Advent Sunday.
Yeah, and I go in that article, I go into my personal story on this a whole lot more as well, and how Advent brought Christmas alive for me.
Nice. Well, look forward to that coming out. And also, I imagine we'll be looking at some of these themes in the weeks to come as we catch up with you leading up to Christmas. Again, thanks for coming in, Frank. We always appreciate seeing you on a Wednesday.
Thank you.